Alright, welcome back, guys and gals, and I have here my my associate, which is yelling out Resident Evil facts, because we all love Resident Evil. Continue?
Yeah, but like I was saying, there's a pink herb in Resident Evil 0. Although you cannot, I repeat, cannot get it in the game, it exists within the game's code. So, if you're thinking about screwing around with the game's code with a Game Shark or Pro Action Replay in order to get the herb, it doesn't do anything.
I just realized they cut my hand.
Yeah.
No, it's because I dropped the knife earlier and it must have cut me when it was falling. Oh yeah, you can put Ashley to hide in this trash can. Boop. And now she's safe. Of course, I don't need that since I have that little suit. Alright, the enemies have respawned, and now that it's dark, it's a bit harder to see them, but you can still get them.
Alright, you're a hardcore fan of Resident Evil, right?
Yes.
Do you know how Resident Evil came to be?
Yeah, they were making a game, I think it was called Dinosaur Land or something like that. And last minute, they decided to change it to zombies instead of dinosaurs, and with not having enough time, they just... the game was supposed to take place in a mansion with dinosaurs infested and crap, but last minute they changed it into zombies. Characters changed a bit. I'm talking about Barry and Rebecca, and aside from that, I just know it's a dinosaur game, and that's why the lab is there. And
alright, but do you know what it was inspired by?
The Jurassic Park.
No, in fact, Resident Evil was hold on.
Oh, that's burning. Ow. Ow.
And in fact, Resident Evil was inspired by Sweet Home.
Really?
Yeah, Sweet Home was an NES game based around horror. It could be most accurately described as an RPG, very much in the vein of Dragon Quest. However, the main focus was on a party management and the game's interesting permadeath system. Oh, and Sweet Home was a licensed game for a Japanese horror movie that you probably haven't seen.
Which one?
I don't know. It doesn't say the name.
Okay.
But it says that Sweet Home is a horror title for an 8-bit console. Don't say which one it is. It says it's an 8-bit console.
That's interesting. Alright, there's a few items in here and there. And that's around it for that. And if I do recall if you do recall, there's a Y, except that door was too tall for us to reach on our own. What does that tell you? Right, you can already call Ashley back. She just bonks up like a goat. She's on a goat, mother ducker, I'm a goat.
Alright. Wow, Capcom, you seem to impress me every day.
What do you mean?
That before Resident Evil 2 came out, Capcom was working on Resident Evil 1.5.
Really now?
Yeah, Resident Evil 1.5 is the unofficial name given to the game that was being worked on before Resident Evil 2.
Wait,
It was very different from Resident Evil 2, as Claire Renfield wasn't even featured in it. Instead, there was a character named Elza Walker who never even crossed paths with Chris. Character models were different, zombies behaved different. It was basically a totally different game.
Oh yeah. And I remember she was like a NASCAR racer or something like that. Either that or it was a guy who was a NASCAR racer, and then they were planning to feature a little girl as well.
It even had RPG style equipment that would increase your defense and stats.
That I didn't know. Because I remember hearing something about it, that there was going to be a different version of Resident Evil, except it never went through. Oh yeah, might as well reload. Yeah, but I heard a little bit about that. There was like a different... Yeah, and the guy was like a NASCAR racer. No, they only came up with a girl. And she was like a NASCAR racer, but she looked a little bit like Claire. Of course, Claire was only a blur in someone's mind at that point.
Pretty much.
Meanwhile, I want you to head towards the extraction point.
Got it.
Cutscene.
What are we gonna do, Leon?
Say it's a wish sandwich, all right. Quick, in that cabin.
Yay, going into unfamiliar homes.
Yay!
Oh crap, I forgot to sell the handgun.
Aww.
Oh well.
Small world, eh? Let's see that the president's equipped his daughter with ballistics, too.
How rude! And I don't believe there's any relevance with my figure and my standing. Who are you?
Freaking monkey ears.
Oh, excuse me, Your Highness. Perhaps the young lady might want to introduce herself first before asking someone his name.
Her name's Ashley Graham, the president's daughter.
Is she? Well, don't worry.
Well, you know.
She's cool. Never mind. There's supposed to be some kind of obvious symptom before you turn into one of them anyway.
Look,
She has yellow eyes. I barely realized that.
Okay, it's game time.
Again, Resident Evil is not known for its perfect lines, but
Or
they're memorable.
voice
for that
acting.
matter. Or voice acting. But they are memorable, I'll tell you that much. There's a red herb here, there's a yellow herb over here, and there's a green herb on the table, if I do recall. Nope, there's shotgun ammo. That's something.
Yeah. And with that, I must take my leave.
Alright, I'll talk to you later, and I'll finish this stage.
Okay, bye.
Bye, assassin.
Bye.
And alright, that just leaves me and the viewer, which is you guys. Or gals, of course. For this upcoming area, you might want to have, again, a lot of health. If I do recall, this area you could kill a certain amount of enemies or survive for 5 minutes. I'm not sure, but hell, we're about to find out, right? Of course, this time, Lewis is with you. Because we all love Lewis, right? Sorry to say, so I won't have to cut the next episode short. I'm going to cut this one short, alright? So, thanks for coming, and see you next time.